Hello and welcome, I am the Sterling and today we are playing Going Medieval. In the last couple episodes we've been very busy. We got both the settlers and the production under the roofline of the mountain. So now we're ready to start digging out the underground city. And in this episode, that's exactly what we're going to get started on. So sit back, grab a cold one, and let's get started. One of the first things I need to do is plan out the permanent supports. As I mentioned in the last episode, they're actually going to be quite big. Made out of limestone block and it will be 4x4, like so. And then the limestone block arches will run off of these massive big thick pillars. Now in all honesty, the pillars actually don't need to be this thick. We could get away with the pillars being this thin, as I mentioned in the last episode. But when it's going to be about 5 levels deep and it's supposed to hold up a mountain, I think that these thin little pillars will look bloody ridiculous. How would you ever believe that something that thin is holding up all that? Nah. So that's the new design. So the way it's all going to work is quite simple. On the bottom level, there's going to be a main street through the middle here of about 4 wide, like so. Then there will be a gap either side. That's where our first 2 pillars will go, in line, obviously. I haven't done them in line this time. Then we'll have archways, pillars, etc. And then the buildings will start within there with another gap. There will be maybe a path that comes off to a door, etc, etc. I'm doing it in this sort of design so that it doesn't seem so cramped, but at the same time, it still keeps that humble, cozy feel that you'd expect from an underground city. Now, the entire city is not going to have the depth that this main street's going to have, because as we get further out, the ground starts dropping, for instance, in this area here, and significantly like this area here. So as we get further out, the roof line will drop. But for what I have planned over here, that actually will come in handy. So it's not an issue. My plan for the layout will be a main sort of city here with majority of our production in this area. This area here will branch out and be the countryside. It's going to be where our farms are. It's going to be where our livestock is. It might even house a forest somewhere there, but I'm not sure exactly where I want to go putting the forest just yet. And then in this area here, I want to start a mine. I especially want to get the iron that's here. Not so sure if I'm going to actually take it off the ground or if I'm going to dig it from underground, but no doubt I'm going to need to make tunnels to create some form of a mine. But this can come later. I'm sure once we start getting raided, I'll be able to take the enemy swords and armor, melt it down, and turn them into axes. So hopefully we don't run out of weapons long before that. One of the first things we need to produce, though, weapon-wise, is crossbows, because those won't be coming with the enemy at first, and it's all we can use for range. So in the research tree, I'm definitely going to have to hurry up and research wooden weaponry, fletching too, and then crossbows. But, of course, that's going to come after preserving food, because we need the shelving and the smokehouse so then our food supply can last longer and doesn't rot on the ground. So the moment we build up the 20 chronicles needed to be able to unlock it, we will. We're at 9 chronicles at the moment. So back to the build. Let's plan where we're putting our permanent structure. So now, knowing that there's going to be a 4 wide street plus a gap, that means we need a space of 6. We're actually going to span 8 by 10. So that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Conveniently, that's where the 8 is there. Happy accident. So that there is the width of 4, so that's our street. There's our gap, and that's our first pillar in. Now we just need to do it on the other side. Now the next pillar will be right here. The next one will be over here. And then finally, the last one will start over here. So now we're going to have to start digging into these side sections either side. And there we go. So now that's all planned out. We're ready to hit play and let them get to work. A new settler has arrived. He was found, faint and bleeding, by a civilization of Ironhold. From the axe and the shattered lumber, Daniel had clearly experienced a woodcutting mishap. Would you let him stay? Honestly, we need the manpower. But if we start taking on new settlers, the settlers we have will inevitably starve. We can't afford to bring on any new settlers until we have our food situation sorted. So unfortunately, we're going to have to slam the door shut on Daniel's face. Fantastic. That's now the permanent supports in. And we are making some good progress this episode, so hopefully we can keep this up. We still have plenty to do. Now what we need to do is start eating into these outer sections either side. And I've got to be very, very careful, because if I dig into this section too far here, we'll lose the ceiling. And we definitely don't want that. So let's be very careful. There we go. They can now dig out these outer sections here. We can then put in the archways to support the ceiling, and then we can actually dig out in between. We're also going to need to get them to start digging 2 large tunnels down this way here, so we can start putting in our pylons and support moving forwards. So then we can dig out all this section here. But one thing at a time, eh? So let's hit play and let them get to work. Fantastic. That's really opened up the space now. And I know I said it before, but I'll say it again. They're really making light work of all this episode. Now, while they're digging all that out, a few things have happened. First of all, as you can see up here in the right-hand corner, our regional influence has grown. Regional influence has grown by building structures and gathering resources. The more influence we gain, the more frequently we're going to be attacked. But it also does determine how other civilizations will interact with us. And of course, how often events actually take place, such as gaining new villages. So overall, our influence growing is a good thing. Now for the bad news. While we'll dig in this, quite a few things either rotted or decomposed. We did lose a bit of food. As you can see by this pile here, this one here, there was a whole bunch of piles all over the place. It was rotting pretty quick. We've been discarding it, putting it in the waste. We knew this was happening, and that's why we've been building up our chronicles. So we could research preserving food, because we want to unlock the shelf, which will get the food off the ground, and we want to unlock the smokehouse, so we can smoke meat, which lasts longer. And we could do that now, because we have 40 chronicles. We only need 20. But up until recently, we actually had 55 chronicles. So you're probably asking, well, Sterling, what happened to the other 15? Due to the fact the chronicles are just laying around on the ground, they decomposed, as you see here. So another thing we need to bloody unlock is a bookshelf. So the next two things we're going to do right now, first, we're going to unlock preserving food. Done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to furniture. And in furniture, we have a bookshelf. So we're going to unlock furniture for 15 chronicles, which we got planned. We've still got 20 left. So we'll have 5 left over. Done. Now it's just a matter of where we're going to put this shelving. I want to keep them out of the way of all the construction that we're doing at the moment. So I think I'll do a nice little patch of bookshelves over here and a nice little patch of food shelving over here. So we'll start off with 6 bookshelves and 10 shelving for food. Next, we'll put down the smokehouse. We'll make it out of limestone because we don't have clay yet. I actually haven't been able to find any clay on this map so far. I'm not sure there even is any. So we'll put the smokehouse right here. Done. And now, once they build that, we'll be able to smoke meat, which in turn lasts a lot longer than just normal meals. Fantastic. Now that our books are on a bookshelf, they should no longer decompose. And as long as we keep them out of the weather, we shouldn't have any issues. Sooner or later, I want to build a proper library for our books. But for the moment, this will do. As for our food that's now on shelving, for instance, this roasted meat, it'll take 1 year and 8 days to decompose and 32 days for it to rot, which is plenty of time. Now, I've already come over here to the campfire and changed the production of meals from forever to 40. That way, we don't keep wasting all our meat on meals, as I want to come over here to the smokehouse and start producing smoked meat. So let's click on that now. And we're going to set that forever. That way we can produce a larger smoked meat. At this point, we're sitting quite comfortable. Though with our influence growing in the region, I am worried that we'll be attacked any day now. So I hope our settlers are up for the challenge, as the defenses we have right now are minimal at best. Now, moving forwards, we have a couple of different options. We can continue to dig out this entire top section, which sooner or later we have to bite the bullet and do, or we can start digging down, which also sooner or later we're going to have to do. It's just a matter of what we actually want to do first. I'm thinking we're going to continue digging out into this section here. Now to do that, as I mentioned before, we're going to have to dig tunnels so that I can get in to build the supports. So that's the first thing we're going to do. And there we go. That's now the tunnels planned out. Now you're probably sitting there going, Sterling, You got all that space there. Why aren't you utilizing that? On the edge of the map, there's a certain area that you can't dig or build on, as indicated by this red section here. So even though that looks like a large amount of space, this is where the enemy and the merchants and events spawn. We can't use it. Hence, we'll dig this section out here, but then we'll have to start digging out sideways. But for the moment, this is plenty of space for us to start building what it is that we want to start to build. I want to hurry up and get the dwarves off the ground and into their own homes. Or at least most of them anyway. Plus, by building certain rooms as indicated over here, for instance, the kitchen, it at least has to have one stove, 2 wall pottery shelves, at least 1 butcher's table, and it cannot have any shrines or entertainment structures. We'll then raise and boost the production speed of the stove and the butcher's table. Same goes for the workshop. If we have an armorer's table or a borrow's table or any form of production with at least 2 wall shelves, and once again, no shrines or entertainment, the workstation speed will be boosted. As for chambers, which is the settlers' bedrooms, if we put 1 bed in there with no shrines or entertainment structures, no workstations or infirmary beds, they'll have a more peaceful sleep and they'll actually enjoy their quarters. And then we can add things to the quarters to beautify them, which in turn will add to the happiness of our settlers. And when the settlers are happy, they work harder and their production speed is better. And they actually listen to what you say, because if they become too unhappy, they'll become rebellious, and then they won't do anything you ask of them. So as you see, there's all different types of room types we can create that in turn will either boost happiness or production speed. So as you can probably understand, I want to hurry up and get them into their own bedrooms and actually create workplaces for them to raise happiness and to raise production. But before we can do that, we first have to dig out this area here. So I'll stop gas bagging, I'll hit play and let them get to work. Okay, here we go, our first raid. They appeared silently, eyes hollow, hair wild, smelling rancid and daubed with blood. Everyone in Ironhold recognised these pillagers as the assailants of the most deadly kind. They were beyond reason, with nothing left to lose. Ironhold folk took up arms, making ready for battle. Oh wow, for our first raid, the enemy looks quite kitted out. We've got some decent armor like the mail armor over here, some decent weapons. I hope I haven't bitten off more than I can chew by setting the game to survival. Nonetheless, we now have to get ready to be attacked. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select all of our dwarves and we're going to draft them ready for battle. Done. Next, we're going to make sure that we put everybody inside. Last thing we need is for anyone to be caught outside on their own. It'd be a death sentence. Hopefully everybody was already inside, and with all the digging they've been doing, there's a good chance they were. Yes, it looks like they were. Fantastic. Now we have different styles of fighters. We have 3 that have 2-handed weapons. We have 3 that have axe and shield, which is good for defense. And then we have 4 using crossbows. So they're good for range. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab all our shields and put them at the front, like so. Then we'll grab all our archers and we're going to put them over here at the back. And then we'll put all our 2-handers behind our shields. Now the plan will be quite straightforward. We'll allow the enemy to bang on the door until they break through. Now once they're through the door, the shields need to hold their ground at the tunnel, not letting them into the mountain. Because if we allow them into the mountain, we can be surrounded and we are outnumbered. And so we can't allow that. We definitely have to hold our ground. It will be the responsibility of our archers to take out the enemy archers as soon as possible, because the enemy archers are a real threat. They can shoot over our line of defense and kill our settlers, so we need to take them out as soon as we see them. Here we go. Here comes the enemy now. So they'll bash on this door for a moment, won't take them long to get through, and then the real fight will begin. Oh wow, they're making light work of that door, aren't they? We really need to get a better defensive structure. Be really good if we had greater doors, because whilst they bashed on them, we could be shooting the enemy with our archers. Up their throat. The archers are letting loose. Whoa, the enemy's going down pretty quick. Where's the enemy archers? They haven't got through yet. Have we lost anyone yet? No, we haven't. Though we are getting a little bit hurt, so we're going to have to monitor that. So now we're going to grab our archers and we're going to target their archers and take them out. So this one here first. They're doing a good job, but it looks like the archers have put themselves in harm's way. This is a mistake. We've allowed our archers to be out on their own. They're going to get attacked. So let's quickly get them out of there, eh? And then we'll quickly get all our melee involved to help cover their retreat. Not off to a good start. You'd think that I've never played this game before. Yeah, we're making light work of them. Now that there's only archers left, we'll get our melee out the way and we'll let our archers trade blows with the enemy archers. And we are victorious. 10 sword enemies died during the fight. Daniil was the bravest of the settlers, dealing the most blows to the foe. Hiski took the most damage from the enemy, thinking only of defending Ironhold in his hour of need. Rarik blocked the most hits. It should be recorded. Now we just have to mop up the last remaining enemies. Now let's have a bit of a look. Overall, looking at our dwarves, they haven't seemed to have taken much damage. But the problem is, moving forwards, the enemies are only going to get harder and harder. And let's be honest, I didn't do too crash hot this fight. For starters, I should have had our shieldsmen hold their ground. The big mistake we made was once we killed the initial raiders at the front, our settlers started moving into the tunnel, trying to attack those further on into the tunnel. Because where we have the advantage is that we're funneling the enemy into this space here. It makes it that they're only 2 enemies wide, where standing here, we can stand 3 or 4 wide. So we can hit them 4 times to their 2 times, which is twice as much. So we can have half their numbers and still survive. Where the moment we come into this tunnel, we're 2 wide, they're 2 wide, we're equal. And standing toe to toe with them, we're outnumbered, we're going to lose. So moving forwards, I need to play a bit smarter when it comes to combat, especially when our defenses for a long time are going to be like this. We're not just going to be able to stand on high walls and shoot the enemy. Not for a long time anyway. Good news is we got plenty of new items to play with. Couple of tower shields, kite shield, there's some armor, and anything we don't want, we can either melt down or disassemble. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to undraft all our settlers and let them go heal up. The next thing we're going to do is come down here to allow, and we're going to allow them to pick up all these resources. They'll then repair the front door, and then we can all get back to work digging out the rest of this section here. Fantastic. We've finished digging out the tunnels and laying down the supports just in time for the first day of autumn. Here under the domestic animals in the overview tab, we now have a domestic cat. Now if you come over to the right side over here, you have 3 options you can select. You can either train the animal, slaughter the animal, or release the animal. I've selected to train the cat. That way we can use it as vermin control. Over time we'll be able to capture goats, we'll be able to buy asses, buy dogs, and we can train these different animals up for different purposes. For instance, dogs and asses can help haul goods around our settlement. As for livestock, we can use it for its meat, for its milk, for the leather, for the fur. So different animals have different purposes. Now, if we click on the cat, we'll see it's 16% trained. Training attempts remaining today is 0. So we can only train a certain amount of times a day. Our last training attempt was successful and it was done by Daniil. We cannot train the cat again for 2 hours. Now, the next on the agenda is digging out between all the supports and opening up this space. So let's go ahead and plan that out now. And there we go. It's all planned out. We're now ready to hit play and let them finish digging this out. Fantastic. That is the top layer now dug out. And my word, that is so much limestone. What are we going to do with all that limestone? But now that that's all dug out and the supports are in, we're ready to start digging down. We'll need to start by making access so we can dig down via the door. We'll then slowly have to cut out around the edges, and we'll also need to cut out around every single pillar, creating a ladder down so we can carefully start digging out underneath the pillars and then replacing them with limestone. Unfortunately, all that will have to wait for another episode, as this is all the time we have for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.